Hello, my friends. We meet again. It's been a while. Where should we begin? Welcome to another edition of the Middle-Aged Metalhead podcast. The roles have reversed today slightly, considering that it's me who will be speaking with GK over there, not the other way around. Of course, hi GK. Welcome to your own podcast. How are you?
Hey, good, good. Thank you for doing this.
No. It's my pleasure. It's always great to hang with you and have conversations with you. So essentially, what we want to do, GK, is we've been noticing, and a lot of people as well have been noticing that you've been doing a lot of conversations with a lot of bands in the scene. Again, given that the platform that you have, it's might as well use your platform to kind of make your own cake and have it too, essentially. So we'll just have a conversation with you about Jin, where we are, where it started, where we're planning to go, and everything in between. So to for the uninitiated, Djinn and Miskatonic, legendary almost doom metal band from India, one of the forefront torchbearers of the genre alongside Devasi and Shepherd. Um, been around from 2011, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah,
and the it's made up of JP on bass. You have Siddharth on drums. You have GK himself on vocals, Sriram on guitars, and Mushaf on guitars as well. So, GK, is it true that you guys started off in 2010 as a drone outfit? So, what's that story like?
yeah. So I would call it drone. The thing is, we started as a three-piece.
Right.
JP on bass, Sid on drums, and I was doing vocals. And JP was writing proper doom metal songs on the bass guitar,
Mm,
but it was the only, I think, comparison that people had looking at our setup was Om. So we kind of got put into that box of
right.
drone or drone metal or whatever. But I don't think we ever considered ourselves drone. And if our first demo, I think, is still on Bandcamp. So if you listen to those three
Mm,
songs on that demo, there's nothing drone about it
correct.
at all. Yeah.
Right. So what was that spark? What brought JP and you together? Was it I know for a fact that it's a shared love of Doom as much as I know you and as much little as I've interacted with him as well. So what was that spark which brought three different people? Because as we very famously know, Siddharth plays for multitudes of bands. So what was
Yeah.
that brought you guys together?
So JP and I have known each other for about close to 30 years now, I think. I was
Wow.
about 15, 16 when I first met him.
Mm,
But particularly with JP had just quit Baversi.
mm,
And before Baversi started, I was jamming with Shrikant Panaman of Baversi on this very short-lived project that never went anywhere called Dirt Bucket. We had
right.
about 4, 5 songs, and JP had seen me singing with Panaman.
Mm,
And so when he moved out of Baversi, he was like, "Hey, do you want to start something?" And it made logical sense to do that because we'd known each other for ages. Our tastes were very alike, and we knew exactly what kind of music we wanted to play as well. So that
right.
happened. I think JP found Sid. Sid at that time was only playing with Nihilus, which
Mm,
was completely the other side of the spectrum, right? It was like mad technical death metal going at 10,000 BPM,
yeah.
and this was very, very slow. But yeah, that was how it all started, basically.
Right. And what's behind that name? It has like a because I remember seeing reading first finding out about you guys like in 2014, 2015ish. I think you and I had a very brief interaction about it when you guys played in Pune one time. So I had come to actually watch you guys, and I had read an interview on Rolling Stone, and there I first found out about the band and the name, etc. So what's behind that name? I know Jinn what it means, but is it just clever wordplay, or is there like some homage to Lovecraft is there as well?
There is. The Miskatonic University from
Yeah.
the Lovecraftian lore,
Mm.
and Djinn, and of course the wordplay as well. So JP was just having fun with it, I think.
Yeah.
He came up with the name completely, and I absolutely loved it. So we just decided to go ahead with that. Yeah.
So you touched upon your early days. What was the scene like in 2010, 2011-ish, especially from a Doom perspective? And in Bangalore, I know Dying Embrace was still existing back then. And were there like any specific venues, etc., that aside from Dying Embrace, I don't know, to maybe to a certain degree because you go way back with Vikram as well. Uh, which influenced this direction or this kind of sound that you guys were going for?
So I think Dying Embrace reformed
Mhm.
maybe around 2000,
12ish.
yeah, 12ish, right?
Yeah.
And by then Baversi were around, and we came a little bit after Baversi. Then there was Shepherd, which was more in the sludge space, I guess, but
Yeah.
we were all slotted in together, and that was basically the scene. Yeah, Dying Embrace was like this death doom side.
Mm.
Baversi was, I would say, sort of
Stoner.
stoner doom. Yeah, Shepherd was doing the whole sludge thing. We were doing a more, maybe a more traditional doom.
Traditional.
Yeah, well, not, yeah, I guess. But in comparison, at least, I guess we were more traditional doom than the others. And
Mhm.
it was basically the four of us. Yeah. And then a few years later, of course, there was Witch Doctor. Then there were a couple of other bands, mostly short-lived, I guess, but who started sprouting on the scene as well. Yeah.
Right. So, when you ask me and people from my age group, etc., who came into Bangalore or who are not from Bangalore originally, it was certainly an anomaly to see bands like Djinn and Miskatonic because Bangalore was known as, even now, if you talk about it, most of it is like geared towards the more extreme side of things. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So you have like back in the day, you had a very young Cryptos, you had Mind Snare, you had all of these kind of you had Millennium famously.
Yeah.
Uh, so you've always had this kind of extreme fast music. So when I heard Jiran Miskurani for the first time, it struck me like wow, Bangalore is also doing, because I heard Dying Embrace like way later,
Okay.
so for me, my introduction to Desi Doom was you guys, a bit of Deversi, bit of Shepherd. So yeah, so essentially that's what it is. So your music pulls famously, as everyone knows, from heavyweights like Black Sabbath and Reverend Bazaar, but you also weave in these almost sludgy, almost death metal moments. How do these influences come together, and what do you, now that you guys have evolved into a five-headed monster, so as to say, what does each of them bring into the table?
I think with JP, JP does most of the main songwriting as such.
Mhm.
He has a massive love for Sabbath, traditional 80s heavy metal, uh, but also very much into the whole 90s grunge and alt rock scene as well.
Right.
Post punk, Joy Division, things like that. But at
Mhm.
the same time, he's also listens to a fair bit of death metal.
Mhm.
So some of those death metalish moments also come in there. And with when Shri joined the band, it was his love for 80s metal, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, and also thrash, a lot of thrash. He's a huge Metallica fan. So a lot of Hetfield type riffs started coming in.
Yeah.
Then Sid, of course, has always been this technical beast behind the kit. It was a huge thing to get him to slow down for Jin, in the especially when we started off. I think it took him a while to adjust, but now he just nails it, man. He's like a phenomenal drummer. I would say one of the best drummers in India right now.
Yeah, that's true.
Ridiculously creative, and one of those guys who will somehow or the other managed to sneak in a double bass part in a doom metal song,
Yeah.
and Mushaf was our most recent entry. Again, a love for 80s metal, thrash, death metal, and a lot of the doom metal as well. So all of that in songwriting, JP will generally bring the main structure of the song. Everybody will add in their own bits and take it from there.
Mhm.
And I think our the through line basically is still Doom, but
Right.
we all have our own different influences as well. And we've never really limited ourselves to any kind of one sound. Like
Mhm.
right from the early days, if you listen to a song like Mortal Science, it's very post punk. You
Correct.
listen to something like Weird Tales, it's like this epic doom metal thing, but it also has at least the last section. I always like to think of it as being very black metal inspired.
Hmm.
So yeah, we've never really limited ourselves. It's like do whatever you want, and if it sounds good, that's all that matters. Yeah.
So I remember that conversation you and I had on chat about the lyrical aspect of, because I mean, you and JP are very well read, and there are a lot of fantastical elements from various books that you guys read, and you bring that on. I mean, specifically in the latest EP Paleo, so there is a lot of influences from that. So how does that work? I mean, we spoke about the music, but how does the lyrical aspect, bringing it all together, how does that work, and how and where do the others in the band stand as well?
So lyrics is mainly JP and I.
Mm,
So if JP is writing the lyrics, usually he'll already have the lyrics and he will give them to me. I will sometimes edit it to make it fit with the songs. And if I'm writing the lyrics, usually I'm just going with gibberish initially till I get the
wording.
melodies right when we are
Mhm.
jamming or working on a new song, and then work on the lyrics based on that. But inspirations early on, it was a lot of I think Lovecraft, Conan the Barbarian. Who was the guy who wrote Conan?
Robert E. Howard.
Howard, Lovecraft, a lot of the classical horror and fantasy writers,
Mhm.
for JP at least.
Yeah,
For me, it was maybe a bit more modern, like Book of the Fallen is basically from Steven Erickson's Malazan
yeah.
Book of the Fallen. Paleo has elements of that series as well. And otherwise, my lyrics kind of tend to come from all over the place. Yeah. Sometimes it's movies, sometimes it's politics, sometimes it's books or fantasy. So yeah.
Right. And since JP, you are, I hate to use this phrase, but you have been called this multiple times. You are almost like an elder statesman of the scene now. Uh, so, in no way I want to call you old or whatever, but you have been. What I mean to say is you have been there right from the beginning. At least the beginnings that most of us from our age group, like your mid 30s to your early 20s to the mid 30s, people who are coming into the scene, who have been a part of the scene for a bit. Um, we know only bits of it. How has the scene changed or evolved, right from, maybe you can speak about, or maybe you can touch upon when you guys were attending gigs, then when you guys started playing, and then currently what you see around you. How has that evolution happened in front of you?
So let's. I think the first gig I ever went to was when I was about 13. My dad took me to this thing called Save the Trees in this resort called Guestline, right? And it was in the outskirts of Bangalore, and it was Millennium. It was this jazz vocalist called Radha Thomas, who still gigs occasionally in Bangalore. It was Konark Reddy, who's this amazing classical guitarist from Bangalore again. and it was Roberto who used to play with Millennium,
Yeah.
but at that time had a fusion outfit with a violinist and a mridangam or a tabla player,
Mm.
right? And I think it was Nadir on drums for Millennium at that time. But that was my first gig, and that was like a ridiculously diverse lineup, right? You had Millennium doing this whole heavy metal thing, and Millennium at that time had already released the Born to Rain EP. So
Mm.
that was what, 93 probably? And they were doing a mix of originals and covers. Like we spoke about earlier, I think that was when they covered Enter Sandman and Countdown to Extinction. No, not Symphony of Destruction, sorry. But Vernon was such an amazing frontman. I could talk about Millennium for days. They were like a huge influence for me
Yeah.
as a teenager. But and after that, I would say Millennium pretty much stopped doing covers, right?
Yeah.
They were going ahead. There was like an all original set. And
Yeah.
I think that had a really big impact on the scene as well. Like people were like, okay, we can play our own songs, and it was a couple of years after that, people would be singing along to Millennium songs at their gigs. And by the time I was in first PUC junior college, we used to have Autumn Muse, which was the St. John's Festival.
Mhm.
So that was 2 days of this so-called rock competition, and the final day would be the finalists of the competition plus some headlining band, and you'd always have at least a couple of metal bands there playing originals. You had Strawberry Fields from NLS, which came later. You had UVC Engineering College, who would put up this annual cultural program, but bookended with a or headlined with a rock show. So Millennium used to headline that. Moksha had come down to headline NLS, and it was like big outdoor gigs.
Right.
And at some point, that just kind of faded away. I think NLS held on for the longest.
Yeah.
Right, there were a lot of big bands that
Till
came there.
2012, 2013, I think, because when I had first come to Bangalore, one
Huh,
of my first gigs that I had attended was Strawberry Fields.
huh,
And by then,
yeah,
it was like legendary status because you read about it in RSJ
yeah, yeah,
and all of these mags, that this band played and that band played. And, sometimes you had international artists come in. And that was
yeah,
like
yeah,
legendary status back then. Like you had the concerts in the Raz in Delhi, in Bombay,
yeah.
Independence Rock, and you had
Mm.
Strawberry Fields.
Strawberry Fields, yeah, true. And I think one of the in '94 or '95, Millennium and Induscreed did a joint headlining thing in Palace Grounds. Because
Wow.
I still remember about 12,000 people turning up for that, which was like ridiculous, right? And again,
Unheard
Millennium
of
doing
shit.
like, yeah, Millennium doing like a completely original set, and it was just crazy. Like the amount of people who would turn up for rock shows back then was really something else. Then I think by about the 2010s, 2012, 13, the entire scene had shifted to smaller pubs,
Mm.
venues, places like Kyra. You had Ion Bar on Brigade Road, which had a lot of gigs, and it had become much smaller. Yeah, there were a lot more bands, but the entire crowd had become a lot smaller. But somewhere in between, early 2000s was the peak of the Freedom Jam scene.
Yeah.
So, first Sunday of every month, there would be a gig at this place called The Club on Mysore Road. So, you went all the way there and you saw Cryptos, Threnody, Acrid Semblance, early versions of Glorified with Charlie, and like every metal band in Bangalore at some point or another has played at the club at Freedom Jam. And again, a good, like, maybe my memory is off here, or maybe I'm looking at the past through rose tinted glasses, as they say. But it always felt like at least 100 people would turn up on that Sunday evening, and Mysore Road was, I mean, it's still now it's ridiculously far off, but
Yeah,
even back then it took
wild.
quite a while to get there. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that was really good for the scene. Yeah.
I'll tell you how impactful that scene was. In far-flung the northeast of India, I was reading about this, and
Oh
I'm
wow.
not even exaggerating. So
Ah,
I knew about these bands,
yeah.
Acrid Semblance, Millennium. You had like people make Millennium T-shirts back in the day
Okay.
because I remember them touring, them coming to Shillong once, like way back in like I was very young. It was midnight, like very late '90s. They had, or maybe mid '90s or something. They'd come down to Shillong. Cryptos, especially when the first EP dropped and Coils of Polonium and all of that stuff, the huge bands, and it was almost like the epicenter of that original metal music coming out. Because if you remember, to 2000, late 2000s to mid 2010s, there was like this intense explosion which Bangalore was in the front and center of, led to a lot of scene wars as well. Let's not get into that, but it also led to rise of not just bands but rise of labels. You
Yeah,
know
yeah,
what I mean? One of the most famous ones being Transcending Obscurity, where you have released the first album at least.
yeah. So, Casey, Kunal, the owner of Transcending Obscurity. Um, so him, myself, JP, like basically the entire scene used to hang out on the GigPad forums. I don't know if
Yeah, of course.
yeah. So all of us used to hang out on the GigPad forums, and pretty much like cult, uh, what happened with the Kiri cult group, right? All of us decided that GigPad wasn't cult enough for us, and another friend of ours who's sadly no more started this. Those days it was all message boards called Hypnos. So
Mm,
all of us moved there to mainly talk about extreme metal. So I've known Kunal since the early 2000s
right.
and days of dial-up modems and message boards, basically. And even then, we had massive scene wars, right? It was always Bangalore versus Mumbai for some reason or the other. And Kunal was the one guy who was like this cult guy in Mumbai, right?
Mm,
If everyone else was listening to whatever the latest, most fashionable band was, Kunal back then used to be like, I have all the Incantation albums on CD, right? So he was like a seriously lifer he is when it comes to death metal. And when we formed the band, he was just setting up Transcending, I think, or he had already set it up, and he was mainly dealing with Indian bands. So it seemed like a very natural fit for us because we'd known each other for years. And
mhm.
the funny part is when we did the first album and things, he even sent us a very official contract. Neither of us ever bothered to sign it. Everything was completely based on our word and his word. And yeah, he put the CDs out, released it. I think the second album as well we did with him again, completely based on our relationship with each other. So, and after actually, by the time the second album came out, he had stopped working with Indian bands. So he was
Right.
like, "Nah, since it's you guys, we'll go ahead and do it," and did that as well. So yeah, he's like a champion, man. For Indian metal, I mean, he's
Yeah.
done a lot of work. Yeah.
Yeah. And we've spoken about this earlier to GK, that a lot of people now, they kind of meme on Transcending Obscurity, but the amount of great releases year on year, I think this year, like last year, I don't think it will be an overstep to say like the kind of year WTC had the World Terror Committee had a very
Hmm.
strong year last year. I think Transcending Obscurity is having one of those years this year, because
Yeah.
just all the death metal that I've liked this year are all from Transcending Obscurity,
Yeah.
barring one maybe. But everything else is from Transcending. A very strong recommendation. I would suggest like just go back to their platform and just check out all the most of the bands which are there. You'll find something or the other which you might like. It is not going to be a waste of your time. But
Yeah,
just coming
that's
back to the topic, GK, you mentioned like you're looking at things from rose tinted glasses and stuff like that. Were there any challenges that you guys faced in your initial days, or maybe even now? What are the perhaps limited, maybe venue is always an issue. Like in your last episode with Goats with XRX, Rakshit, who also plays for Goat Smoke, he mentioned like venues might are an issue, sound is an issue, audience you mentioned has fragmented. So what are the various challenges that you may have faced?
I think from a band point of view, our biggest challenge is our own inertia.
Right.
Right? For the longest time, we were content to play like 1 or 2 gigs a year. I
Hmm.
think this year we're playing like 3 gigs, which is probably the first time for
Most.
us. And we have about 4 songs in the pipeline, which we've been talking about fleshing out and recording for the last year now. Just should be the follow up to Paleo.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is our personal challenge. But in terms of the scene itself, yeah, sound was a huge issue. When we were a three-piece, people didn't understand our sound because it was the bass guitar at the forefront.
Hmm.
When we were a four-piece, again, for some reason, people didn't understand our sound because we wanted the bass and the guitar to have equal spotlight. So that was a problem. Then we became a five-piece, and again, people don't understand our sound. And by people, I mean not the audience, but whoever's
The
sitting
sound
behind the
engineers.
mixer, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
because they're always like, no, no, JP is too loud. No, the guitarists need to go down, or JP needs to go down, or they just don't get it. Like they just don't understand what we want to do. So the last 3, 4 gigs now, we've got our own sound guy.
Hmm.
He basically helped us with the Paleo recording as well in Astral Studios.
Right.
This guy called Pranav, who really has a good handle on what kind of sound we want.
Hmm.
So whether it's so that has really worked out well for us, I think. And for the first time in a long time, all 5 of us are happy with the sound. Yeah. But apart from the sound issue, venues are, it's okay, man. I mean, I don't really have a problem with venues, whether we're playing in Kyra, whether we're playing in Soundglitz, or fandom for that matter. And it's fine. It is what it is. Like, you can't really expect uh, too much from the venue, I think, because
Yeah.
5 days out of, or maybe 6 days out of seven, they're going to be playing some Dick Chuck kind of music
Yeah.
for the masses, and one day or maybe 2 days in a month, it's suddenly extreme metal. So they're not really designed to handle this kind of sound. So you
Right.
just, uh,
Roll with the punches.
yeah, roll with the punches. Yeah, do the best that you can. That's about it. Yeah.
Um, I completely lost my train of thought. I was about to ask you about yeah. Is there like a preferred venue that you have
Uh, I
currently?
I really like the intimacy of Soundglitz, the last
Oh,
gig that
dude,
we did.
yeah, 100%.
Okay, I thought it was great. We haven't played in Wire Up, so I can't comment. But Soundglitz for me was a lot of fun. Otherwise, I enjoyed playing at Fandom as well. And yeah, that's about it, I guess.
I think
So,
watching. I can't speak for the artist, but I think Wire Up also, has that close
yeah,
proximity aspect, which especially this kind of music demands.
yeah, true.
So I love. I know you and I we watched the Mass Hecatomb tour
Yeah,
where
yeah,
Bhasmasura played and Defago and all of that. So I think that gig had some, barring I think a couple of bands. I think just Kapala, barring them, everyone sounded massive,
yeah,
intense, feral, and that was like a great. But I love the vibes of Soundlets because most of the time it's just BYOB. It's just
yeah,
mad shit going on all the time. Yeah, and especially when Boom Culture is playing, it's just different
yeah,
gravy altogether. I love. watching gigs there. But speaking of boom culture, you guys are playing a gig with them on the 30th of August in Bira Tap Room in Koramangala. It's called Vehement Era, and you featured some of your contemporaries who will be on that bill with you. XRX is playing that gig. Stygian Hallways is playing that gig. They go from Mumbai are playing that gig, an offshoot of the formerly Albatross and Primitive, and you lot are playing this gig alongside. Am I missing? And alongside Boom Culture as well. So yeah, your expectations of this very diverse lineup. How did it all come about,
I think
and
it's going to
what do you
be,
expect?
yeah, I think it's going to be great. Yeah. I'm really looking forward to playing with the X Repeat X. I think Vinu, when he was in Grosty
Hmm.
and the earliest incarnation of XRX, we had played together, right? Simon
Correct.
used to love putting up doom and grind bands together, or and it used to really work. Like those shows were an absolute blast in Ion, and so that's something I'm really looking forward to. Bego Bipro is just a fantastic vocalist and an
Yeah.
absolute sweetheart. So we played with Albatross long ago in this place called Buck Buck Bar, which was very short-lived. I think it shut down, but yeah, that was a great gig. So I'm looking forward to sharing stage with Bego. Then you have Stygian Hallways. The first gig that we saw at Soundlets, I think they were quite promising. So I'm
Hmm.
looking forward to that as well. Although I think now it's a three-piece. They're down to a three-piece, is what Shashank told me, with Rakshit on drums. So that should be interesting. Boom culture, just a whole lot of energy, and Charan is, another one of those lifers in the scene. Like
Yeah.
he's been
Yeah.
around for so long,
Yeah.
and for some reason or another, I've never actually seen them yet. So I'm
Oh,
really
okay.
looking forward to Boom Culture as well. So it should be a really solid gig. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure whether Rakshit is full time or just filling in for this gig.
Yeah, filling in, I think. Yeah.
Filling in, yeah, because it's still Bhasmasura emulation with with Sharad from Ayurveda.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I really like Stygian Hallways. I've seen them once, the only gig that they've played, I think,
Yeah.
and there they had that Sharad brings in that very post black element,
Yeah.
and they always have that doom and that that through line of black metal there as well, which I personally love. They were good friends. All bands there is a tremendously diverse. I think the most diverse lineup that you'll see this year at least. Uh, so yeah, so it's going to be a good scene on the 30th. I know a lot of our friends are also coming down from various parts of the country. So if
Yeah.
you are in Bangalore, or even if you're watching it somewhere else, and if you happen to travel to Bangalore, the link of the tickets in the description. So ensure that you are there as well. And GK, would request to put in your music as well, the Bandcamp link.
Yeah.
So ensure that you guys click on and check out some great music from Djinn and Miskatonic and other bands from Transcending Obscurity and other labels as well. So thank you so much for doing this, GK. Thank you so much for taking out
Hey,
time
thank you
and
for doing
indulging me
this.
and answering some questions which we may have answered multiple times. But here goes.
No, no, I don't do these interviews at all. Usually it's JP and Sriram who do this. So yeah, pleasant change, and thanks tons for doing this. Yeah, really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Always great chatting with you, and I'll see you guys on the next on another episode of Metalhead podcast. See you guys. Thank you.
Cheers.